Aliens pleaded for mercy. The Council ignored the warning and awoke a nightmare. Prologue. A whisper in the void in. The cold expanse of space, where stars burned like distant embers, a signal drifted across light years, a faint pulse of energy carrying an urgent message. It was not random noise or cosmic interference, it bore meaning. To those who could decipher its patterns, it spoke of desperation, fear, and warning. Humanity had long dreamed of encountering intelligent life beyond their own species. But this was no friendly greeting. It was a plea. The beings calling themselves the Veilith were unlike anything humanity had imagined. Their voices came through fragmented bursts of quantum-encoded data, translated into broken phrases that chilled even the most hardened scientists. Do not come further. Do not awaken what sleeps. Mercy. For decades, humanity had expanded outward from Earth, colonizing planets and mining resources to fuel their ever-growing empire. They called themselves explorers, pioneers, saviors of progress. But now, as they ventured deeper into uncharted territory, the universe seemed to whisper back, "Turn back." And yet, the Galactic Council ignored the whispers. Chapter 1. The Signal Doctor. Elena Marquez sat hunched over her console aboard the orbital research station EOS Prime, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. Lines of alien script scrolled across the screen, accompanied by strange symbols and mathematical equations far beyond human comprehension. She leaned closer, adjusting the settings to isolate the transmission's frequency. "This can't be natural," she muttered under her breath, tapping commands into the interface. "It's too precise." Behind her, Lieutenant Ravi Patel glanced up from his own workstation. "Still working on that signal? You've been at it for hours." "It's important," Elena replied without looking away. Her tone carried both excitement and unease. "This isn't just some stray radio wave bouncing off a pulsar. Someone or something is trying to communicate with us." Ravi crossed the room to stand beside her. On the screen, the decoded fragments flickered erratically, forming incomplete sentences. He frowned. "What does it say?" Elena hesitated. "That's the problem. It's fragmented, almost as if parts of it are being deliberately obscured. What I can make out doesn't inspire confidence." She highlighted one line. "Mercy. Seal remains intact. Do not disturb." "Sounds ominous," Ravi said dryly. "Think it's a prank? Maybe some rogue faction messing with us?" "No," Elena said firmly. "This is real, and whoever sent it knows we're here." At that moment, alarms blared throughout the station. Both scientists turned toward the main viewport, where a fleet of patrol ships emerged from hyperspace. At their center loomed the massive bulk of the Aegis Vanguard, flagship of the Galactic Council's military arm. The Council had arrived. Chapter Faber. The Council's decision. Inside the Council chamber aboard the Aegis Vanguard, representatives from every major human colony gathered around a circular table. Holograms of absent leaders hovered above empty seats, their faces stern and unreadable. At the head of the table stood Admiral Victor Langstrom, commander of the fleet and de facto leader of the expedition. "We intercepted the same signal you did, Dr. Marquez," Langstrom began, his voice booming through the chamber. "Your analysis confirms it's extraterrestrial in origin. What else have you learned?" Elena stepped forward, clutching a datapad tightly in her hands. She hated these formal briefings. They always felt more like interrogations than discussions. Still, she knew the stakes. If she didn't convince them to take this seriously, countless lives might be at risk. "The signal originates from a region of space near the Zephyr Nebula," she explained. "Based on the content, it appears to be a warning. The senders identify themselves as the Veilith, though little is known about them outside of mythological references." Langstrom raised an eyebrow. "Mythology? Are you suggesting these aliens are gods?" "No," Elena clarified quickly. "But ancient texts from pre-colonial Earth mention similar entities, beings worshipped as creators and destroyers. The Veilith seem to fit that archetype. More importantly, their message warns of something called the Devourer. According to them, it's sealed within the nebula, and disturbing it would unleash catastrophic consequences. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some counselors exchanged skeptical glances while others leaned forward in interest. One of them, Senator Corinne Duval, spoke up. "And how credible is this threat?" she asked coolly. "Are we supposed to halt all exploration based on hearsay from unknown aliens?" Elena bristled but forced herself to remain calm. "With respect, Senator, this isn't hearsay. The Valith provided coordinates and technical specifications consistent with advanced knowledge of astrophysics. We've verified their claims using our own instruments. There's an anomaly at the heart of the nebula, an object emitting low-frequency vibrations that match the description in their message." Duval waved dismissively. "Even if true, why should we care? Humanity thrives on discovery. If there's something valuable out there, we'd be fools not to investigate." "That's reckless thinking," Elena snapped, unable to contain her frustration any longer. "You're gambling with the safety of billions. These aren't idle threats. They're warnings born of experience. Whatever the Devourer is, it's powerful enough to terrify an entire civilization." Her outburst earned her a glare from Admiral Langstrom. "Dr. Marquez, let me remind you that decisions regarding interstellar policy are not yours to make. The Council will deliberate and decide the appropriate course of action." As the meeting adjourned, Elena stormed out of the chamber, her mind racing. She knew what would happen next. The Council would vote to proceed, ignoring the risks. Greed and ambition always won out over caution. Chapter 3. Into the unknown. 2 weeks later, the expedition fleet departed for the Zephyr Nebula. Led by Commander Alex Grant aboard the cruiser Pioneer Dawn, the mission included scientists, engineers, and soldiers tasked with investigating the mysterious artifact. Among them was Dr. Marquez, reluctantly assigned to the team after insisting on accompanying them. Grant was a career soldier, pragmatic to a fault. He didn't trust the Valith's warnings, dismissing them as fear tactics designed to keep outsiders away. To him, this was simply another frontier waiting to be conquered. As the fleet approached the nebula, however, strange phenomena began occurring. Ships reported equipment malfunctions, navigation systems going haywire, and inexplicable power surges. Crew members complained of vivid nightmares and hearing whispers in the dark. On the bridge of the Pioneer Dawn, Grant listened to reports flooding in from across the fleet. His expression remained stoic, though his jaw clenched slightly. "Status report," he barked. "All systems functional, sir," replied Ensign Carter. "But several crewmen have requested medical leave due to anxiety and sleep disturbances." Grant sighed. "Tell them to toughen up. Space travel isn't for the weak-minded." Elena entered the bridge just then, her face pale. "Commander, we need to turn back. Something's wrong here. The readings are off the charts. Gravitational anomalies, temporal distortions. It's like the laws of physics are breaking down." Grant turned to her, his eyes narrowing. "We're not turning back, Doctor. Not until we find answers." Before Elena could argue further, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as red lights flashed across the control panels. Outside the viewport, the nebula seemed to pulse with an eerie glow, as if alive. Then came the voice, a deep, resonant hum that reverberated through the hull. Words formed in everyone's minds, clear and undeniable. "You should not have come." Silence fell over the bridge. Even Grant looked shaken. "What was that?" Carter whispered, clutching his console. Elena met Grant's gaze, her expression grim. "I warned you." Epilogue. Shadows stirring. Back on Eos Prime. Technicians monitoring. The fleet's transmissions detected a sudden spike in activity followed by silence. Attempts to re-establish contact failed. Whatever had happened inside the Zephyr Nebula, the expedition fleet was gone. Far away, in the depths of the nebula, shadows stirred. Ancient mechanisms whirred to life, awakening something that had slumbered for millennia. The Devourer stretched its tendrils, tasting the essence of new prey. Humanity had made its choice. Now, it would face the consequences. The survivors aboard the Pioneer Dawn struggled to regain control after the ominous voice echoed through the ship. Commander Alex Grant stood frozen on the bridge, his usual composure shattered. The hum of the engines faltered intermittently, and the artificial gravity fluctuated, sending loose objects floating before crashing back down. Dr. Elena Marquez clutched the railing near her station, her knuckles white. "We need to leave now," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "Whatever it is, it knows we're here." Grant shook off his momentary paralysis and barked orders at the crew. "Ensign Carter, stabilize the systems. Lieutenant Harper, run a diagnostic sweep. Find out what caused that surge." His tone left no room for argument, but the fear in his eyes betrayed his bravado. As the crew scrambled to restore order, the viewport revealed an unsettling sight. The nebula seemed alive, swirling with unnatural colors and patterns. Wisps of violet and crimson drifted like smoke, occasionally coalescing into shapes that resembled eyes or grasping hands. It was as if the void itself watched them. Elena approached Grant cautiously. "Commander, we can't ignore this. That message, it wasn't just a warning, it was a plea. We've disturbed something ancient, something powerful." Grant turned to face her, his jaw tight. "And what would you have us do? Turn tail and run? We're here now. We might as well see it through." "See what through?" Elena shot back. "You don't even know what it is. This isn't exploration anymore, it's suicide." Before Grant could respond, Ensign Carter called out from his console. "Sir, I'm picking up something unusual. There's a structure ahead, massive. It's not natural." On the main display, a hulking silhouette emerged from the nebula's haze. Jagged spires jutted outward like broken teeth, encircling a central sphere that pulsed faintly with a sickly green light. The object radiated an aura of dread, making everyone on the bridge instinctively recoil. "That's it," Elena whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship's systems. "That's what the Valith warned us about." Chapter 5. Echoes of the past against Elena's protests. Grant ordered the Pioneer Dawn to approach the structure. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors picked up strange energy readings emanating from the artifact. It defied conventional physics, existing simultaneously as solid matter and pure energy. A team of scientists and engineers, including Elena, suited up for an away mission to investigate. Armed guards accompanied them, led by Lieutenant Marcus. Reed, a grizzled veteran with little patience for academic caution. The shuttle landed on a precarious ledge near the base of the structure. Stepping onto the alien surface, the team felt an immediate sense of wrongness. The air inside their suits crackled with static electricity, and their HUDs displayed erratic readings. Shadows danced at the edges of their vision, though none dared speak of it. "This place feels wrong," muttered Dr. Priya Mehta, one of the xenobiologists. She adjusted her helmet nervously. "Like it's alive." Elena nodded grimly. "It probably is, or was. Look at these carvings." She gestured to the walls of the structure, covered in intricate glyphs and symbols. Some depicted celestial bodies being devoured, while others showed humanoid figures bowing before a monstrous entity wreathed in shadow. "These aren't just decorations," Elena continued. "They're warnings, records, maybe even instructions." As the team ventured deeper, they discovered chambers filled with relics of the Valith ancestors, a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. Crystalline tablets contained fragmented histories, detailing how their people had once worshipped the Devourer as both creator and destroyer. They spoke of rituals performed to appease it, of sacrifices made to keep it contained. But one phrase appeared repeatedly across the tablets: "Do not awaken." Lieutenant Reed frowned as he scanned the chamber. If this thing is so dangerous, why'd they build a shrine to it? "They didn't build it," Elena replied. "They sealed it. This entire structure is a prison." At the center of the chamber stood the pulsating sphere they'd seen from orbit. Up close, its surface shimmered with fractal patterns, shifting and twisting as if alive. It emitted a low-frequency vibration that resonated in their bones, filling them with a mix of awe and terror. "This is it," Elena murmured. "This is the seal." Chapter 6. Hubris. Unleashed, despite Elena's warnings, curiosity got the better of the team. When Dr. Mehta reached out to touch the sphere, no one stopped her, not even Elena, who hesitated too long. The instant Mehta's gloved hand made contact, the sphere flared violently. A deafening roar filled the chamber, shaking the very foundation of the structure. The team stumbled backward as tendrils of shadow erupted from the sphere, lashing out like whips. One struck Mehta, lifting her off the ground and pulling her toward the artifact. "No!" Reed shouted, raising his weapon. But before he could fire, the tendril retracted, dragging Mehta into the sphere. Her screams cut off abruptly as the artifact absorbed her entirely. The rest of the team fled, scrambling back to the shuttle. Behind them, the sphere pulsed faster, its glow intensifying. The carvings on the walls began to glow as well, forming coherent sentences in the Valith language. "You have awakened me." Back aboard the Pioneer Dawn, chaos erupted. The artifact's activation triggered a chain reaction throughout the nebula. Ships in the fleet reported similar phenomena: malfunctions, hallucinations, and attacks by shadowy entities. Survivors described seeing visions of loved ones pleading for help, only to transform into monstrous figures when approached. On the bridge, Grant stared at the viewport in horror as tendrils of darkness snaked through space, consuming nearby vessels. The Devourer had awakened, and it was hungry. Chapter 7. The first encounter. As the fleet scattered, attempting to escape the nebula, the Pioneer Dawn became trapped in the gravitational pull of the artifact. Its engines strained against the force, but progress was slow and erratic. In the medical bay, survivors recounted their experiences. Crew members spoke of hearing whispers promising salvation if they submitted to the Devourer. Others claimed to see glimpses of utopia, a perfect world free of pain and suffering, but always at a cost. Elena worked tirelessly to piece together the fragments of knowledge they'd gathered. From the Valith tablets, she learned of a ritual capable of reinforcing the seal, but it required immense energy and life force. Someone would have to stay behind and channel their essence into the artifact, sacrificing themselves to contain the Devourer once more. She shared her findings with Grant, who listened in silence. For the first time since the mission began, he looked uncertain. "There's no other way?" he asked quietly. Elena shook her head. "Not unless you want to risk letting it loose on the galaxy." Grant clenched his fists. "Then we'll find volunteers." "No," Elena said firmly. "I'll do it." "You can't. I'm the only one who understands the ritual. If anyone else tries, they'll get it wrong, and we'll all die anyway." Her voice softened. "Besides, someone has to take responsibility for this mess. It might as well be me." Before Grant could argue further, alarms blared again. On the viewport, the Devourer manifested fully, a colossal entity composed of writhing shadows and burning stars. Its presence dwarfed the fleet, exuding an aura of malevolent intelligence. "Prepare for evacuation," Grant ordered. "Get as many people out of here as you can." Elena stayed behind, returning to the artifact alone. As she initiated the ritual, the Devourer's voice filled her mind, offering power, immortality, anything she desired. But she resisted, focusing on the task at hand. With a final surge of energy, the artifact flared brightly, momentarily blinding everyone aboard the fleeing ships. When the light faded, the Devourer was gone, or so it seemed. Epilogue. Seeds of destruction. The surviving crew escaped the nebula, battered but alive. Yet as they emerged into open space, they noticed something disturbing. Faint whispers still lingered in the background, echoing through the comm systems. Had they truly contained the Devourer, or merely delayed its return? Far away, deep within the remnants of the nebula, a single shard of shadow detached itself from the artifact, drifting silently into the void. It carried with it a fragment of the Devourer's consciousness and a hunger that would never be satisfied. The surviving crew of the Pioneer Dawn limped back into human-controlled space aboard a single damaged cruiser, carrying tales of horror that few believed. Their ship bore scars, Scorch marks from shadowy tendrils, shattered hull plating, and systems barely functioning. But worse than the physical damage was the psychological toll. Many survivors had withdrawn into themselves, haunted by nightmares and visions of the Devourer's whispers. Some refused to speak at all, staring blankly into the void, as if expecting it to swallow them whole. Commander Alex Grant stood before the Galactic Council once more, this time not as a triumphant leader but as a broken man. His uniform was disheveled, his face lined with exhaustion. Beside him, Dr. Elena Marquez, pale and visibly shaken, delivered her report in clipped tones, recounting every detail of what had transpired in the Zephyr Nebula. The artifact was a seal, she explained, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. We broke it. The Devourer is no longer contained. Senator Corinne Duval leaned forward, her expression skeptical. And this entity? It's real? It consumed our fleet, Grant interjected, his voice low and gravelly. It destroyed ships, killed thousands. If you don't believe us, ask the survivors or what's left of them. Duval exchanged glances with other council members. Admiral Victor Langstrom, seated at the head of the table, stroked his chin thoughtfully. Assuming your story is true, and I'm not saying it isn't, what do you propose we do? Abandon entire sectors of space? Evacuate colonies based on hearsay? It's not hearsay, Elena snapped, slamming her datapad onto the table. This isn't some abstract threat. The Valeth warned us and we ignored them. Now the Devourer is free and it's spreading. Langstrom sighed. Even if we accept your claims, there's little evidence to act on. Until we see proof of this monster, we cannot justify disrupting trade routes or halting expansion efforts. Grant clenched his fists, biting back a retort. He knew arguing further would be futile. The council's greed and arrogance were unshakable. As the meeting adjourned, Elena approached him, her eyes filled with quiet determination. They won't help us, she said. If anyone's going to stop this, it'll have to be us. Chapter 9. Gathering allies. With no support from the Galactic Council, Grant and Elena turned to unconventional allies. They reached out to rogue factions, dissident scientists, and even remnants of the Valeth, an ancient race now scattered and near extinction. Each group brought unique skills and resources, united by a shared fear of the Devourer. Among these allies was Captain Soren Kael, a former pirate-turned-mercenary who commanded a small but formidable fleet. Kael had witnessed the destruction wrought by the Devourer firsthand when one of his ships ventured too close to the nebula's edge. Though initially reluctant to join forces with Council lapdogs, he eventually agreed after hearing Elena's impassioned plea. We're running out of time, she told him during their first meeting aboard Kael's flagship, the Shadowfang. Every day we delay gives the Devourer more power. If we don't act soon, nothing will stop it. Kyle smirked, though his eyes remained cold. You're asking me to fight a god. What makes you think we stand a chance? Because we don't have a choice, Grant replied bluntly. Either we try or we let it consume everything. Reluctantly, Kael agreed to lend his fleet, along with intel gathered from deep space scans. In return, he demanded full autonomy in battle, a condition Grant reluctantly accepted. Meanwhile, Elena worked tirelessly to decipher additional fragments of the Valeth tablets recovered from the artifact. She discovered references to a secondary ritual capable of weakening the Devourer temporarily, but it required access to its core essence, which meant venturing directly into its domain. This is suicide, Grant muttered as they reviewed the plan. How are we supposed to get close enough without being torn apart? We'll use decoys, Elena suggested. Deploy drones equipped with quantum disruptors to distract it while we infiltrate. It's risky, Kyle admitted, but risks are what keep us alive. Chapter 10. Chaos. Within, as preparations continued, tensions flared among the survivors. Fear bred paranoia, and paranoia led to conflict. Some crew members began questioning whether containing the Devourer was worth the cost. Others argued that appeasing it might offer salvation, a belief fueled by its seductive promises echoing through their dreams. One such individual was Lieutenant Marcus Reed, who had been deeply affected by the loss of Dr. Priya Mehta. Consumed by guilt and grief, Reed became increasingly erratic, isolating himself from the group. When Elena confronted him about his behavior, he lashed out. "You think you can save everyone?" Reed spat. "Face it, Doctor, we're already dead. The only way out is to give in." Before Elena could respond, Grant intervened, pulling Reed aside. "Get yourself together, Lieutenant. We need everyone focused if we're going to pull this off." Reed sneered but said nothing, retreating to his quarters. That night, however, he disappeared, taking a shuttle and several crates of explosives with him. Surveillance footage revealed he had set course for the nebula, intending to confront the Devourer alone. "He's gone mad," Grant muttered, watching the shuttle vanish into the distance. "He'll get himself killed." "Maybe," Elena said quietly. "Or maybe he thinks he's found redemption." Chapter 11. Redemption Through Sacrifice. The final assault on the Devourer commenced under the cover of darkness. Kale's fleet launched waves of decoy drones, drawing the entity's attention away from the main strike team led by Grant and Elena. Inside the nebula, reality warped and twisted around them, forcing the crew to rely on instinct rather than instruments. As they neared the artifact, the Devourer manifested in full force, a towering monstrosity of writhing shadows and burning light. Its voice reverberated through their minds, promising salvation in exchange for submission. "Stay focused," Grant ordered, gripping the controls tightly. "Don't listen to it." Elena activated the quantum disruptors, creating a temporary barrier between the team and the Devourer. Seizing the opportunity, they planted charges around the artifact, designed to destabilize its core and weaken the entity's hold on reality. Just as they prepared to detonate the charges, Reed reappeared, his shuttle battered but intact. He landed nearby, stepping out with a crazed grin. "I've figured it out," he declared, holding up a device rigged with explosives. "This is how we finish it." "No, Reed," Elena shouted. "You'll kill yourself." "That's the point," Reed yelled back, tears streaming down his face. "Someone has to stay behind. Let it be me." Before anyone could stop him, Reed triggered the explosives, diving into the heart of the artifact. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the nebula, causing the Devourer to recoil in agony. "Go!" Grant barked, urging the team back to their ship. "Now!" As they fled, the nebula collapsed in on itself, sealing the Devourer within. For a moment, silence reigned. Epilogue. A fragile peaceback in human-controlled space, the survivors delivered a grim warning to the Galactic Council. Though the Devourer was weakened, it was far from defeated. Whispers still lingered, in the void, hinting at its eventual return. In the aftermath, Grant and Elena parted ways, each carrying the weight of what they'd lost. Elena dedicated herself to studying the Veilith texts, determined to find a permanent solution. Grant, meanwhile, retired from active duty, haunted by memories of those who hadn't made it home. Far away, in the depths of space, a faint pulse echoed, a reminder that the Devourer was merely dormant, waiting for the next opportunity to break free. Months passed since the survivors' harrowing escape from the Zephyr Nebula, but peace remained elusive. Across human-controlled space, strange phenomena began to emerge, stars dimming without explanation, entire colonies vanishing overnight, and reports of shadowy entities appearing on remote outposts. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, promising salvation to those who submitted. Dr. Elena Marquez worked tirelessly in her makeshift lab aboard the EOS Prime, analyzing fragments of data recovered from the Veilith tablets. Her research revealed a chilling truth. The Devourer wasn't merely contained, it had adapted. Its essence now permeated the fabric of reality, spreading like a virus through the galaxy. "We sealed it too late," she muttered to herself as holographic projections flickered above her desk. "It's already inside us." Commander Alex Grant arrived unexpectedly, his expression grim. "We've got trouble," he said without preamble. "The Council finally listened, or at least they're pretending to. They've authorized a last-ditch effort to stop the Devourer, but only because it started attacking major trade routes. Elena raised an eyebrow. What changed their minds? A colony ship disappeared near the nebula 2 days ago, Grant replied. Over 5,000 people gone without a trace. Even Langstrom couldn't ignore that. Elena sighed, rubbing her temples. And what's the plan? Another expedition? More weapons? No, Grant said firmly. This time, we're going all in. Every available ship, every soldier, every resource. We're building a superweapon, powered by quantum energy. If we can channel enough power into one blast, we might be able to weaken the Devourer permanently. Elena studied him for a moment, then nodded. If anyone can pull this off, it's you. But there's something you need to know. She handed him a datapad displaying her latest findings. The ritual we used before. It bought us time, but the Devourer is evolving. It's learning how to resist containment. Whatever we do, it has to be decisive. Grant scanned the information, his jaw tightening. Understood. Let's hope we don't run out of time. Chapter 13. Unlikely allies. The coalition assembled, for humanity's final stand was unlike anything seen before. Rogue factions, former enemies, and even surviving Valith joined forces under a single banner. Captain Soren Kale returned with reinforcements, while Admiral Langstrom reluctantly committed the Galactic Council's fleet to the cause. Among the most unexpected allies were the Valith themselves. Once thought extinct, small enclaves of their kind had survived in hidden sanctuaries, preserving ancient knowledge about the Devourer. Their leader, an elder named Girath, offered guidance in exchange for protection. The Devourer is not just a being, Girath explained during a briefing, aboard the flagship Aegis Vanguard. It is a force, a manifestation of entropy itself. To defeat it, you must strike at its core, where its consciousness resides. And how do we find that? Grant asked. Girath gestured to a holographic map of the galaxy. Its essence flows strongest near the original seal. You must return to the Zephyr Nebula and draw it out. Elena frowned. That's suicide. We barely escaped last time. It may be our only chance, Girath countered. But remember, the Devourer feeds on fear and despair. To triumph, you must confront it with unity and resolve. As preparations continued, tensions simmered among the crew. Some questioned whether victory was possible, while others clung to hope. Amidst the uncertainty, Grant found himself reflecting on the sacrifices made thus far and the ones yet to come. Chapter 14. The Last Battle. The combined fleet arrived at the edge of the Zephyr Nebula, bracing for the inevitable confrontation. Ships formed a defensive perimeter around the Aegis Vanguard, which housed the prototype superweapon. Powered by quantum cores scavenged from across the galaxy, the weapon represented humanity's greatest technological achievement and its final gamble. As they entered the nebula, reality fractured around them. Time slowed and sped up unpredictably. Stars blinked out of existence and shadowy tendrils lashed out at the fleet. Yet despite the chaos, the coalition held firm, guided by a shared determination to survive. At the heart of the nebula, the Devourer manifested in full glory, a colossal entity composed of writhing darkness and burning light. Its voice thundered through the void, echoing in every mind. You cannot win. Submit and I shall grant you oblivion. Grant tightened his grip on the controls of his fighter craft, leading the charge toward the artifact. Behind him, waves of drones and decoy ships drew the Devourer's attention, buying precious seconds for the main assault team. Inside the artifact, Elena worked frantically to activate the quantum disruptors, creating a temporary barrier to shield the fleet. Sweat dripped down her face as she fought against the overwhelming pressure of the Devourer's presence. You won't take us, she shouted, slamming her palm onto the activation console. A surge of energy rippled outward, forcing the Devourer to recoil momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, Grant piloted the Aegis Vanguard directly into the artifact's core. Onboard technicians initiated the countdown sequence for the superweapon, channeling all remaining power into a single, devastating blast. "This is it," Grant said over the comms, addressing the entire fleet. "For everyone we've lost, for everything we've fought for, this ends now." Chapter 15. Sacrifice and Legacy. As the countdown reached 0, Grant made a decision that would define his legacy. Knowing the explosion required precise timing to maximize its impact, he chose to remain aboard the Aegis Vanguard, ensuring the detonation occurred exactly as planned. "Eject the escape pods," he ordered, ignoring protests from the bridge. "Crew, get everyone out of here." Elena watched in horror from her position near the artifact as the flagship unleashed its payload. A blinding flash of light engulfed the nebula, tearing apart the Devourer's physical form and destabilizing the surrounding region. The shockwave obliterated countless ships, including the Aegis Vanguard, but succeeded in sealing the Devourer once more. Survivors regrouped in the aftermath, battered but alive. Among them, Elena gazed at the wreckage, tears streaming down her face. Though victorious, the cost had been immense. Back in human-controlled space, the Galactic Council issued a formal apology for their earlier inaction, vowing to honor the sacrifices made. Monuments were erected to commemorate those who had fallen, and stories of bravery and unity spread throughout the galaxy. Yet as the stars shone brightly again, faint whispers lingered in the void, a reminder that the Devourer was never truly quantum epilogue. Shadows remain. Years later, Elena stood alone on a desolate moon, staring at the night sky. Despite the galaxy's recovery, she couldn't shake the feeling that their victory had been fleeting. Buried within the ruins of the artifact, she had discovered cryptic warnings etched into the stone. It always returns. Far away, in the depths of uncharted space, a single tendril of shadow stirred, searching for new prey. The Devourer waited patiently, biding its time until the seals weakened once more. Humanity had survived, for now, but the universe was vast, and darkness always found a way.